Today I'm going to show you how to make shaped ornaments using these designs. For each of these ornaments, you'll want to begin by hooping a piece of fabric along with a piece of tearaway stabilizer. Sew all but the last color of the design, and before you sew the last color of the design, place another piece of fabric face down on top of the hoop. The last color is the outer seam. After it's done sewing, cut it out, leaving about 1/4 inch away from the stitching. Cut the corners at an angle so they'll turn out nice and square. Now turn the piece right side out. Turn the raw edges of the opening to the inside and then press using a warm iron. Now if you're making one that's just a little pillow, you'd stuff it first before sewing the opening closed, but with this one, I'm going to sew the opening closed. You may want to sew beads around the outer edge of the ornaments, and the easy way to do this is to buy string beads and sew them on. I've sewn the beads around the edges, and now I'm going to sew the corners of the ornament together. Now that you've got the 4 corners sewn together, you can make an ornament like this, or you can pull the thread on the corners tight and pinch the other side and shape the ornament differently. If you want to add a bow, cut a piece of ribbon about 10 inches long and tie it into a bow. Trim the ends so that it looks good, and then you can sew it onto the ornament. You may want to string some beads on the end of your ornaments or wherever you'd like. And when I'm doing this, I sew through the beads several times just to make sure that they stay in place. Now I shape the ornament again after I've sewn on the beads. I've also sewn on a wire hanger, and I'll show you how to make that later. For this ornament, I'm going to make it into a little pillow. I haven't sewn the opening closed yet. I'm going to put in some polyester fiber fill before I sew the opening closed, and I'm just going to lightly stuff it. Now that I have it stuffed, I'm going to sew the opening closed. You may want to add some tassels to your ornaments, so I'm going to show you how to make those. I just use hand embroidery floss, and first I cut off about 10 inches. And then I'll take the rest of this and I'll wrap it around my hand. When I have it to the thickness I want, I'll take it off my hand and I'll tie another piece of the floss around the center of it through the loop. Now I'll take more of the embroidery floss, and about 3/4 inch away from the end that I just tied, I'll wrap the floss around this and tie it. Now I'll cut through the loops at the bottom of the tassel. And the ends will be uneven at first, so you'll want to trim them to make them even. The best way to attach the tassel is to sew it on. Sew through the tassel several times to make sure it's attached really well. For this ornament, I sewed the corners together after I sewed beads around the edges, and then you just pull it slightly to give it a bit of a puffy look. I also added a tassel and a small loop of beads at the top of this ornament to hang it. For the bell-shaped ornament, I start by sewing beads, a string of beads, to the unembroidered side of the ornament, and I start in the center and I string the beads. I go through the beads several times to make sure that they don't come off. I save one small bead to sew on after I sew on the large bead, and that way I can go back through the beads again. When sewing back through the beads, I skip the small bead that I just put on, and this will hold the beads on. After I've sewn the string of beads on, then I'm going to fold it in half with the embroidered sides together, and I'm going to take several stitches about a half of an inch away from the fold line, and I will do this on each side. Now I'll fold it in half the other way and again sew stitches about a half of an inch away from the fold line. Then turn it right side out and you'll have a little bell shape. I really like the swirls on these ornament hangers. I think it adds some charm. After you've finished making them, you'll want to sew them onto the ornaments. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy making these. Don't forget to visit www.goldenneedledesigns.com.